Ever felt a single touch change everything? Margot did at 53, in a quiet farmhouse where secrets whispered louder than words. When an unexpected connection with her stepson Mason ignites buried desires, lines blur and lives transform. Dive into a story of longing, discovery, and the quiet chaos of the heart. Like and subscribe for more tales that stir the soul. I ought to have distanced myself the instant his fingers grazed the base of my spine. Yet I didn't. I allowed him to stay. Then he murmured, "You carry the scent of summer." You'll hardly believe what transpired next. How that single phrase, as gentle as a whisper, stirred something within me I believed had long vanished. Remain with me, for from that instant, all I thought I understood about love, devotion, and passion started to fade. If tales like this evoke something within you, memories, regrets, concealed possibilities, then remember to subscribe to the channel. There's always more beneath the surface, and I'm here to share it all. I am Margot. At 53, I find myself in an aged farmhouse, tucked away in the depths of rural Georgia. Quiet surrounds this place, a disconcerting calm that persists too often. The kind of quiet that echoes, offering no comfort, only a chilling reminder of what lies beneath. My husband, Richard, often insisted this place was perfect for clearing the mind. Amusing. The only thing it ever cleared was his agenda, a void that let him escape my presence, return to the city, his workplace, anything but me. 15 years of marriage have crafted a complex web of affection, trials, and unspoken truths. On the surface, we display an image of perfection. A grand veranda with white rocking chairs, a carefully maintained garden, and photo frames filled with empty smiles. Visitors continue to praise us as if the beauty of the facade could truly warm a woman in the solitude of night. Richard once loved me, or so I believed. He tried, but it was a struggle. Yet, amid the clinking of glasses at business dinners and the endless buzz of late-night conference calls, I faded into the shadows, unseen and unheard, not despised, simply invisible, silenced, like the relentless ticking of a clock, a sound you've learned to ignore. Yet, it looms ominously in the background. Now his calls are reduced to mere questions about bills or a distant check on the weather back home. I could disappear into this house and he wouldn't even notice until the next time he sorted through his laundry. And then there's Mason. Mason is the son of Richard, born from the shadows of his first marriage. A teen, a number that carries weight, a threshold teetering on the edge of youth and adulthood, where every moment pulses with possibility and uncertainty. He stands tall and silent, a deep well of contemplation that seems to echo with the wisdom of ages beyond his years. He arrived to spend the summer with us. A pause filled with uncertainty as he awaited the beginning of college. The moment he emerged from the car, suitcase in tow, a rush of realization hit me. My God, how he has changed. He had shed the innocence of youth, no longer resembling the boy he once was. And I didn't feel like merely a stepmother either. It was mid-July when the air thickened, a suffocating weight that clung to your skin, rendering even the trees weary and worn. That morning I toiled for hours in the garden, yanking weeds from their stubborn grip, meticulously trimming the roses and pouring water over the parched earth beneath the relentless sun. By noon, my shirt clung to my back, a relentless reminder of the ache in my lower spine, whispering that I was no longer in my 30s. I stepped inside, my heart racing, poured a glass of water with trembling hands, and stood before the fan, the cool air brushing against my heated skin, a fleeting relief amidst the rising tension. Mason stepped into the kitchen moments later. The air thick with unspoken tension, he exuded a reckless, languid vibe. Barefoot, shirtless, a towel draped over his shoulder, as if the world around him faded into the background. He appeared less like a human being and more like a vivid postcard, frozen in time. "Are you all right?" he inquired, his hand reaching for a bottle from the fridge, tension hanging in the air. "My back's killing me," I confessed, a strange chuckle escaping my lips. It seems my aspirations for the roses have spiraled beyond control. Mason's smile faded as he tilted his head, his gaze locking onto the crimson marks staining my neck and arms. "You're sunburned?" I nodded. the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. Perhaps a heavy silence hung in the air, thick with unspoken words, the kind that vibrates between two souls on the brink of crossing an uncharted boundary. But both can sense its inevitable approach. With a trembling hand, he delved into the drawer, retrieving the bottle of sunscreen I reserved for guests, and extended it toward me, the weight of the moment hanging heavily in the air. "Do you want my help?" he inquired, his voice laced with an undercurrent of urgency. I should have said no. I should have. But instead, I pivoted sharply, settling onto the edge of the kitchen chair, my fingers tangling in my hair as I draped it over one shoulder. "If you don't mind." His hands radiated warmth, a comforting yet intense sensation that lingered in the air. Soft. He began with my shoulders, slow, almost tentative, as if he feared causing me pain. But as he descended lower, tracing the delicate curve of my spine, an undeniable tension hung in the air. His hand lingered in the air, caught in a moment of uncertainty. My breath hitched. Not a single word escaped my lips. It was in that moment I realized the profound silence that enveloped the house, a stillness that seemed to echo with unspoken secrets. After that moment in the kitchen, an unnameable weight began to linger in the air between us. It didn't strike suddenly like a thunderclap. It unfolded gradually, much like the way sunlight dwindles at dusk. A change that hangs in the air, palpable and undeniable, demanding attention without uttering a single sound. Mason remained silent about it. I didn't either. Yet we navigated the space between us with an intensity that spoke volumes. Just a little bit closer, perhaps, or perhaps simply more attuned. As I handed him the sugar at breakfast, our fingers lingered in a charged moment that felt like an eternity. As he entered with the groceries, I felt the weight of his gaze, a palpable tension hanging in the air as I reached up to place the items on the shelf, my blouse rising just enough to catch his attention. I've begun to wear dresses once more, only gentle cotton ones, nothing provocative. Yet I found myself drawn to those that embraced a bit tighter, revealed a touch more. I convinced myself it was merely the oppressive heat. Yet the mirror whispered a different truth. I yearned to be acknowledged. One fateful afternoon, I stepped out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, under the impression that Mason had ventured into town. He simply hadn't. He remained paralyzed at the threshold of the hallway. His eyes flickered, desperate to escape. Yet they remained fixed, unable to break free. I gripped the towel with all my strength. Yet I stood my ground, refusing to flee. I held back my anger. I cast a glance back at him, my heart racing with unspoken words. We remained silent on that as well. Later that week, as I chopped vegetables for dinner, he approached from behind, his breath brushing against my neck, igniting a rush of unexpected heat that sent shivers down my spine. He inquired, his voice laced with concern if I required assistance. I uttered a firm no, yet my feet remained rooted in place. In those heavy silences, as his gaze pierced through me, I sensed a perilous seed beginning to grow. Not within him, within me. The harder I fought to maintain a facade of normalcy, the clearer it became that everything had spiraled into chaos. I found myself desperately seeking any reason to be close to him. As I folded the laundry, the weight of his presence in the living room loomed over me, thickening the air with unspoken tension. As he poured his coffee, he couldn't help but fixate on the delicate moment when his lips met the rim of the mug. I swear I wasn't doing anything wrong. Not at all. But I sensed I was teetering dangerously close to a boundary that once felt unyielding and now seemed fragile, ready to shatter. As the sun dipped below the horizon, we lingered on the porch, our eyes drawn to the fireflies that emerged from the grass, flickering like fragile embers in the encroaching twilight. Mason sat in silence, lost in contemplation, his elbows propped on his knees, gaze locked onto the distant horizon, as if searching for answers in the fading light. "Are you all right?" I inquired. The rich red wine swirling in my glass, the air thick with unspoken words. He nodded, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face, then turned to me, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. "Have you ever sensed that you're trapped in a moment, anticipating something that may never arrive?" The way he uttered those words, low and soft, sent a shiver through me, causing my breath to catch in my throat. I recognized that sensation all too vividly. Every single day I breathed, the weight of the words hanging in the air. The air hung heavy with an unspoken tension, a profound ache binding us together. And then he reached over, his fingers barely grazing my hand. It might have been solace. Yet it was not. Not at all. His thumb hesitated, hovering in the air, charged with unspoken words. His gaze remained locked on mine. Unyielding and intense, I withdrew, the air thick with unspoken words. Gradually, with utmost respect, as if the world had simply turned a blind eye. Yet everything had changed. That night, sleep eluded me. I lay beside Richard's vacant side of the bed, the sheets chillingly cold and untouched, a stark reminder of his absence. I fixated on the ceiling fan, its relentless rotation echoing the passage of time. A cruel reminder of moments slipping away, leaving me behind in a haunting stillness. As I shut my eyes, Mason's image surged forth, vivid and haunting, refraining from any overt actions, simply observing as if I held a value that demanded a second glance. The heat was suffocating, wrapping around everything like a heavy shroud. The kind of heat that clings to your skin, slithering down your spine, transforming every fabric into a desperate embrace, as if it's fighting to hold on for survival. The house lay in an unsettling silence. Richard had vanished for the weekend. It's only Mason and me alone in this moment. I stumbled upon him in the dimly lit hallway, just emerging from the shower. Droplets of water glistening on his skin, a loose tank top clinging precariously to his torso. His skin still radiated the lingering warmth. Our eyes locked in a charged moment. This time, I held my gaze steady. My back still aches, I confessed, the weight of the pain heavy in the air. My voice caught me off guard. Do you remember how that lotion worked wonders? He lingered, if only for a heartbeat. Then a subtle nod followed, laden with unspoken weight. I stepped into my bedroom, leaving the door ajar behind me. I perched on the edge of the bed, my fingers nervously tugging at my hair as I waited. The air thick with anticipation, my heart pounded fiercely in my chest. Not from fear. Absolutely not. From a source pulsating with vitality, Mason entered, each step deliberate and heavy with anticipation. The bottle of lotion in his hand trembled ever so slightly. He sank to his knees behind me on the bed. The air thick with unspoken words, intensely inviting, powerful, deliberate. His hands found my shoulders, pressing down with deliberate, steady circles. Each movement igniting the tension in my muscles, drawing out the ache that lingered beneath the surface. The lotion soothed my skin, yet every place he caressed ignited with an intense heat. His hands descended slowly, each movement charged with unspoken intensity beyond the confines of the brow line. It lingers, a whisper against the small of my back, my breath hitched in my throat. I let him go, the weight of my decision hanging heavy in the air. One finger slipped beneath the waistband of my skirt, just enough to send the world spiraling into chaos. He stood motionless, a chill gripping him. I tilted my head back, my eyes sealed shut, as if bracing for the storm within, and I whispered, soft, yet piercing, "You can go on." Silence enveloped him. He pressed on relentlessly, and in that moment the facade shattered, revealing the truth beneath the surface. In the aftermath, we remained frozen in place. His hands lingered on my back, the lotion gradually absorbing into my skin, creating an electric tension in the air. The warmth of his breath enveloped me, a steady whisper in the silence charged with unspoken intensity. My body throbbed with the aftermath of the tempest he had unleashed within me. Silence enveloped us, heavy and suffocating until he finally did. "I used to think about this," Mason whispered, his voice barely above a tremor, laden with unspoken weight. Long before this fateful summer, I blinked, my heart racing, still facing away, paralyzed by the fear of turning to confront the unknown that loomed behind me. "How long before?" I demanded, my voice trembling with urgency. He released a breath heavy and strained as if it had been trapped within him for an eternity. It all began when I was just 15. During the holidays, I would come to visit. And you were always right there waiting. Stunning, compassionate, beyond reach. His words ignited within me, sending a searing heat coursing down my spine. I pivoted to confront him. His eyes were wide, filled with an unsettling intensity. Unmistakable. Not overwhelmed by guilt, but consumed by longing. I should have been consumed by terror. I should have turned and walked away. Yet, deep within me, an echo of a voice I had long ignored urged me to lean forward instead. "I see you now," I whispered. The weight of the moment hanging heavy between us, and I truly meant it. The relentless rain had poured down since sundown, a constant reminder of the turmoil brewing within. It pounded on the roof, a foreboding signal, or perhaps a seductive beckoning. The house lay shrouded in dimness, warmth enveloping it like a heavy blanket, while an oppressive silence hung in the air, amplifying the sound of each breath taken. In the dim light of my room, I sat cloaked in a fragile robe, my gaze lost in the void, consumed by an unsettling silence. Then the sound of his footsteps pierced the silence. He burst in without a sound. Mason lingered in the doorway, his hair still damp from the shower, a gray t-shirt clinging to his chest like a desperate embrace. His eyes locked onto mine. And in that moment, we were ensnared, unable to break free. This time, it will be different. He approached me, each step heavy with unspoken words. With each agonizing step, he moved forward, crossing a threshold that felt irrevocable, a line that would forever remain uncrossed. My hands dropped limply to my sides. The robe slipped from its hold. As he approached, his fingers brushed against my collarbone. A mere whisper of contact, but it ignited every nerve in my body, sending shockwaves of electricity coursing through me. "I've yearned for this moment endlessly," he whispered, his voice thick with longing. And then he pressed his lips against mine, igniting a storm of emotions within me, hard as steel, unwavering, as if a man had been trapped in a suffocating silence for an eternity. His hands roamed with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine, gripping my waist, exploring my ribs, tracing the curve of my back. He traced me as if rediscovering the contours of longing. A sharp breath escaped my lips as his thumb dug into the tender hollow just beneath my shoulder blade. When our bodies collided, it wasn't mere chaos. It was destiny unfolding. The fabric tumbled to the ground. A silent whisper of chaos unfolding. Flesh collided with flesh. Heat discovered heat. He yanked me onto the bed, an unspoken understanding hanging thick in the air, as if he knew I was powerless to resist, and I chose not to. I was unable to. I bent into his hands as if they were the sole dialect I had ever known. The world shrank to the rhythm of a heartbeat and the sound of his breath, each inhale a fragile whisper in the silence. My name, a haunting echo, murmured repeatedly, laden with longing, as we finally fell onto the mattress, entwined in a heavy silence and searing warmth. I sensed it. The boundary we once knew had vanished, and I never wanted it back. Morning broke with a fragile light, enveloped in an almost suffocating silence. Mason lay in a deep slumber, his arm resting possessively across my waist, as if he had been destined to be there all along. I remained frozen in place, my gaze fixed on the ceiling as the rain outside transformed from a torrential downpour to a soft, haunting drizzle. I expected the guilt to crash over me like a relentless tide, yet it remained unchanged. It crept in, a thick fog enveloping the world, caressing every surface before sinking deep into my very being. I ought to have been consumed by shame. I should have turned away, hurried to get dressed, and retreated into the familiar confines of the woman I once was. Yet I remained frozen in place. For the first time in years, my skin felt like it belonged to me, shedding the layers of pretense that had suffocated my true self. My body felt like a weight, heavy and oppressive. In that moment, as Mason embraced me, there were no demands, no expectations, just a profound silence that spoke volumes. He held no judgment. He stood his ground, unwavering. He remained an unyielding presence in the charged atmosphere, and I chose to remain by his side. There's a haunting stillness that descends after the tempest. Not solace, not sorrow. The weight of the irreversible hangs heavy in the air. And yet, here you are, rooted in the chaos of it all. Soaked, breathless, transformed. Uncertainty looms over what lies ahead. Tomorrow feels like a shadowy unknown, a haunting uncertainty that grips my very being. Yet I am certain of this. Last night, I felt the weight of every gaze upon me. Last night, I felt a desperate longing, and regardless of the price I must pay, I hold no regrets for that. I devoted the remainder of that day to the art of pretense, feigning that everything remained the same, feigning the role of a simple woman, folding laundry, preparing dinner, and offering polite smiles to neighbors, all while they remained blissfully unaware of the darkness I had embraced. Yet within, I was completely sincere. Every room I traversed resonated with haunting memories. The kitchen table, a silent witness to the fleeting moment when our fingers brushed against each other. The hallway, a place where his gaze had once been ensnared, lingering in a moment that felt both eternal and haunting. And of course, the bed. It was more than a mere location where we defied the boundaries. In that moment, I was painfully reminded of my existence. I sat alone on the porch that evening, my gaze fixed on the sun as it descended behind the trees, as if it were retreating into shadows, concealing secrets of its own. A glass of wine clutched tightly in my hand. A heavy silence echoes within me. My mind raced, desperately seeking answers in the shadows of uncertainty. Was it truly wrong? Indeed, did I truly regret it? I must. But did I truly wish it had never occurred? Absolutely not. For the first time, I had finally ceased to fade away. I had been moved not merely by hands, but by an intense focus that pierced through the surface with an undeniable force, with utmost care. Desires I had suppressed for far too long, yearning to voice them at last. It had been years since Richard had really seen me. Perhaps that's not a valid justification after all. Yet it remains an undeniable truth. We are all too eager to cast judgment on a woman who falters. Yet the years never broke her spirit. Desire doesn't always knock politely. Sometimes it sneaks in through a crack you didn't notice. Between the silence of a lonely night and the echo of a forgotten laugh, it doesn't ask for permission. Simply reminds you that you're still here. I'm not proud of everything I've done, but I'm not ashamed of needing to feel something again. Maybe that's the part no one tells you about getting older. You don't stop wanting, you just stop admitting it. So, if this story stirred something in you, if you've ever looked at someone and thought, in another life, tell me. I'm listening. And if you want more stories like this, quiet, messy, true, you know where to find me.